Hi everyone, wishing you all a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into the heartwarming story of Huyen and Diep. Following Huyen's early morning journey through rain and mud, the challenges of selling cucumbers at the market, and the tender moments of love and support as they build their little home together, we'll witness the courage, care, and hope that tie this small family together, and see how even in the hardest times, warmth and trust can light up their lives. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Thick white fog blanketed the dirt alley, cold wind slipping through the cracks of the rotting wooden door. Huyen cracked her eyes open, hearing the rain pattering on the tin roof, each drop striking straight into her chest. She sat up, pulling the thin blanket around by. The little dog curled up at the foot of the bed, its round eyes looking at her pleadingly. "Stay home and be good. It's freezing out there," Huyen whispered, stroking its dew-soaked fur. She stepped into the yard, rubber slippers squelching into the soft ground, arms hugging a basket of freshly picked young mustard greens. The pungent smell of wet earth rose sharply. The sky hadn't fully brightened, only a faint glow from the neighbor's oil lamp. Huyen tilted her face up. Drizzle fell cold on her cheeks. "If it rains hard, everything gets soaked, and we'll get sick again," she muttered, pulling the collar of her old frayed jacket higher. In her mind appeared the image of Diep sleeping soundly behind the newly built wooden partition, and Maya still curled up in warm blankets. The small axe, picking greens, telling Bee to stay, carried a great worry: expenses, health, the future. Huyen breathed deeply. The scent of rain-soaked earth filled her lungs. She set the basket on the table, slung the crumpled plastic raincoat over her shoulders, and stepped out the gate. Bee's barking followed behind her, weak but persistent, as if clinging to the last bit of warmth in the house. Huyen didn't look back, only whispering, "Mom's going to work. I'll be back soon." Her figure faded into the white rain, leaving Bee huddled on the porch, eyes sadly watching. Aunt Lan's melon garden stretched under the gray sky, green vines swaying in the cold wind. Huyen stepped in, rubber boots sinking deep into the soft soil. "Auntie, are the melons selling yet?" Her voice was hoarse from the cold. Aunt Lan smiled. The smile etched deep into her sun-baked cheeks. "Beautiful, dear. Just 15,000 per kilo." Huyen bent down, fingers running over each glossy cucumber, trembling from the chill. Each one was a small hope. Market money, rice money, school fees for Maya. She lifted one, inhaling the fresh young leaf scent. Her heart suddenly lighter. "Can you give me a little discount, Auntie?" "No discount. The market sells for $17.20, Aunt Lan replied, but her eyes softened. Huyen nodded and began picking. The rustling leaves blended with the light rain, creating their own rhythm. 17 kilos of cucumbers filled the sack, heavy on her shoulder. 270,000 dong was counted in crumpled bills, placed into Aunt Lan's hand. The exchange felt like handing over part of her strength, but also shedding today's worry. Huyen tied the sack tightly, hauled it onto the old bicycle. Rain started falling harder, soaking through the plastic raincoat. She pedaled, wheels splashing through puddles. Each turn quickened her heartbeat, tired yet eager. These cucumbers had to sell. Enough for more wood for Dee's partition. Enough for Maya's breakfast. Huyen bowed her head against the rain, lashing her face. but the corner of her mouth lifted, a smile of someone carrying the whole family. In the small, dark house, Thuc's mother sat by the flickering stove, bony hands turning a firewood stick. Since morning, her husband had gone somewhere without a word. She looked toward the door. Cold wind slipped through the cracks, carrying the whistling rain. Off to Huyen's house again, no doubt, she muttered, worry flaring like fire in her chest. Huyen's house was silent in the rain, only the steady hammering from D. Thuc's mother pushed the gate, stepped in, rainwater streaming down her face. "What are you doing in my daughter-in-law's house?" Her voice sharp as a knife. D stopped hammering, looked up, eyes calm. "I'm here, with Huyen." Tension exploded. Thuc's mother pressed, "Where's Huyen? Has my husband come? Did she say anything?" Each question cut the air like a slash. D set the hammer down, voice low. "Rest assured, Auntie, Huyen said nothing. He hasn't come again." She still didn't believe, eyes flashing. "I need to see Huyen, need to remind her." D stepped forward, blocking the door. "Go home, Auntie. Don't make it hard for Huyen anymore." His words were a wall against the storm. Thuc's mother breathed heavily, hands clutching her raincoat. She remembered Huyen's promise, her husband's eyes when mentioning the grandchild. Fear of exposure, longing for the grandchild, regret, all mixed. "Fine, I'm going." She turned, steps heavy. Rain still fell, but in her heart, a flicker of relief. At least nothing had happened today. Day watched her go, hand tightening on the hammer. He understood. Keeping the secret wasn't just for Huyen, but for Maya, for this little house. Rain drowned out Thuc's mother's sigh as she vanished into the white curtain of water. The image of the grandfather meeting Huyen accidentally spilling old stories, causing the family to shatter, appeared vividly. She stood abruptly, the old raincoat rustling. "I have to go check, or everything's ruined." That decision cut through the waiting like a knife. She stepped out, rain stinging her face, but the fear hurt more. Each step was heavy. She imagined her husband hearing the truth, his dazed eyes, his roaring voice. "If I don't stop it, the whole family's done," she whispered, breath white in the cold air. The village road was muddy. She slipped once, hand bracing in the mud. It hurt, but not as much as the pain inside. She wiped her hand on her coat, kept going. Motorcycle engines sounded from afar. She startled. Maybe her husband coming back? No, just the wind. She bowed her head, walked faster. Going out was protection, but also facing the guilty past. Rain soaked her clothes, her skin, but couldn't extinguish the burning worry in Thuc's mother's heart. On the muddy village road, Huyen pedaled home, the sack of cucumbers heavy on her back. Wheels splashed mud and water, rain thick, soaking the raincoat. Suddenly from ahead, Thuc's mother appeared, just as drenched. "I just went to your house, didn't see you." Her voice hurried, urgent. Huyen stopped the bike, heart pounding. "What do you want with me?" she asked, voice wary and tense. Thuc's mother explained. Her husband missing since morning. She feared he'd come here, feared Huyen would slip and mention the old matter. "Remember your promise. Don't say anything to him." The warning lashed like a whip on her shoulder, making Huyen flinch. She gripped the handlebars tightly, rain seeping through, chilling to the bone. "I promised, so I'll keep it. Go home. Don't come back and disrupt my life anymore." Her voice was cold but trembling. From the rain, the pressure, the nameless tension about to overflow. Thuc's mother looked at Huyen, eyes complex, pleading yet tormented. She remembered Maya, the days when Huyen was still her daughter-in-law, her husband's eyes when mentioning the grandchild. "He still misses the child," she whispered. Huyen cut in. "I won't say anything. Go home." That was the final boundary, the line she drew between past and present. Thuc's mother nodded, turned and walked away in the rain. Huyen stood still, rain mixing with tears. She wasn't crying from sadness, but exhaustion. Tired of the past clinging, tired of steeling herself to protect current peace. She wiped her face, adjusted the raincoat, pedaled on. Each turn affirmed she chose D, chose Maya, chose the new life. Rain gradually lessened, like Thuc's mother's sigh fading behind the village. Huyen pushed the door open, the scent of fresh wood wafting in the cold air, warm and comforting after the rain. D was nailing the last partition board, sweat rolling down his forehead. "You're back?" He smiled, eyes warm like fire in the cold night. Huyen set the sack down, hands trembling from the cold. Heavy rain. Market was dead. Her voice weary, face gaunt after the morning's labor. D wiped his hands, pulled her close. "I was so worried about you." His warmth spread, chasing away the bone-chilling cold clinging to her skin. They sat together, looking at the nearly finished wooden partition. "Little by little, we'll make the house warm," Day said, stroking Huyen's wet hair. She nodded, eyes brightening. "Tomorrow, I'll take the cucumbers to the riverside market. More people there." Short words, but holding an entire future ahead. They shared daily hardships, unsteady work, harsh weather, tight money. But in every glance, every gesture was deep bond, faith they'd overcome together. Huyen talked about the rain, the egg seller's umbrella, pulling her collar high against the cold. Dee talked about hammering in the rain, worry when Huyen wasn't back. Each story was a thread tying their souls, the wooden partition not just blocking wind, but sheltering hope. Huyen leaned her head on Day's shoulder, listening to his steady heartbeat. Outside, rain still fell, but in the little house, warmth had won over cold. They sat there, quiet but peaceful, savoring rare calm amid daily storms. Huyen sat by the cucumber sack, gently wiping each one. "Just now, met Thuc's mother on the road," she said, voice even, but eyes briefly sad. Day paused, listening, hand on her shoulder. "She's worried the grandfather will come, worried I'll slip up." Huyen smiled faintly. "I told her to relax, let the old story go." Day nodded. "Right, we shouldn't hold on." Light words, but carrying the weight of forgiveness, their way to protect peace. They knew keeping stability wasn't just for themselves, but for Maya, for this little house. Day stood, put on the raincoat. "I'll go pick up Maya." Huyen handed him the umbrella. "Be careful not to get wet." He smiled, eyes determined. The motorcycle engine roared crisply, blending with rain pattering on the tin roof. Huyen continued wiping cucumbers, each glossy under the oil lamp, gentle and meticulous. "Hope no rain tomorrow," she whispered. Small hope, like a flickering candle in the rainy night. Images of debiking in the rain, Maya coming home, the house gradually finishing, all intertwined, forming a simple yet warm family picture. She placed the last cucumber in the basket, stood to draw the curtain. Cold wind rushed in, but she no longer shivered. In her heart, faith had overcome worry. Motorcycle sound echoed from afar, with Maya's childish laughter. Huyen smiled, opened the door to welcome. Rain still fell, but inside, light had flared. A true home where love, forgiveness, and hope conquered every challenge. Every small act, from picking cucumbers, wiping them, to exchanging warm glances, depicted a simple yet meaningful life. Huyen realized peace wasn't the absence of hardship, but overcoming it together, sharing the burden, holding family, love, and faith in tomorrow. The rainy night faded, oil lamplight reflecting on glossy cucumbers, on Huyen and Day's wet hair. The little house became a refuge, a support, where they could breathe and live truly. And there, amid lingering light rain on the yard, amid fresh wood and damp earth scent, was a family, a hope, a faith never extinguished. In the cold, rainy morning, Huyen begins her day with everyday worries, picking greens, preparing cucumbers to sell at the market, caring for Bai, and worrying about money and the future. On the muddy village road, she encounters Mithu, keeping her promise to protect the family's secret, safeguarding peace for Maya and their small home. Returning, Huyen meets Day, and together they finish the wooden partition, sharing concerns and hopes for tomorrow. Simple moments, wiping cucumbers, cycling through rain, exchanging warm glances, form a heartfelt family portrait. Love, trust, and hope overcome all challenges, illuminating their little home. Through hardship and rain, this ordinary yet touching story shows how resilience, care, and devotion can transform daily life into warmth, safety, and a place to truly belong.